Teaching in winter can be really difficult. You're halfway through the year, students just got back from a break, and the weather outside is colder, which means they might not always get to play outside as much as they did in the warmer months. Thus, the energy in the room can plummet or just feel like there's less student engagement. So in today's video, I'm gonna share a fun academic activity you can do in the winter time to get students engaged. My name is Melody Munge. I'm here to share all kinds of teaching ideas to make your job easier and more engaging for your students. The activity I'm sharing with you today is one of my students' favorites from my time in the second grade classroom, and we called it Math Snowball Fight. The premise of the game is very simple. Each student is going to get one snowball to start and a recording sheet plus their pencil. Students solve the math problem that they get and write the corresponding answer on their recording sheet. Then they wait for you to call snowball toss, and they crumple up their snowball and they wait by an area of the room that is cleared to play. Then on your go, everyone underhand tosses their snowball into the area they are supposed to, not at each other. And when you call their name, they get to go pick a snowball. Sometimes I would also call a certain side of the room and all of the students on that side would go retrieve their snowball. Then the process repeats. They open their new snowball, they solve the math problem, they write it on the recording sheet until I call time or we are done exchanging snowballs. At the end of the game, we'd go over our answers so students could see how many they got correct, and they would try to beat that score the next time that we played. To do this activity, you just need a few simple supplies. You need some snowball cards with math problems on them, a simple recording sheet for students to write their answers, and I also recommend having a slide on the board that will display the rules. To prep this activity, you first need to decide on a math topic your students can review, and then you need to make your cards. You can make this on regular pieces of paper, you can design it on your computer, use sticky notes, index cards, or you can use the pre-made templates that I sell. In the set that I sell, there are 6 templates included for simple addition, addition with regrouping, simple subtraction, subtraction with borrowing, multiplication, and division. The template that I sell has 6 snowball questions per page, plus 6 yellow snowballs, which I'll explain in a minute. That means there are 24 math questions total for each different type of math equation, and then there are the 6 yellow snowballs, meaning the activity that I sell can accommodate 30 students as individuals or more if you decide to pair students up. After printing out your snowballs, cut them into cards using a paper cutter or regular scissors, and also cut out a game board for each student. Then make sure you have an area of the room that is clear where you're going to ask students to toss their snowballs. Finally, edit the slide to have the directions that you would like and display on the board. Now it's time to play and enjoy with your students. You'll want to think through what rules and expectations you will have for your students before you begin, so you can make those clear up front and make sure to avoid any chaos. Here are some things to think about and how I chose to do them in my classroom. One is how much time you're going to allow for this activity. We typically did about 15 rounds of the game, which took 30 to 40 minutes. You can shorten this or lengthen it as you see fit. Just make sure students know that whenever you say it's the final round, that means the game is going to end, even if they did not get a chance to solve all of the problems. The next thing to consider is what you want to do with yellow snow. In my classroom, yellow snow meant some kind of physical activity. I liked this because the students thought it was fun, it kept the energy in the room high, and it added a little variation to the math activity. I talked about it with my students, and we agreed on 3 options for every time they got yellow snow. They could choose to do jumping jacks, a plank pose, or the yoga tree pose. These were 3 options that I felt fine with, as long as they were separate from other students. So you might want to designate a certain area the yellow snow children should go. The students thought it was really funny whenever they would get one of these, so we did have to limit how many they could get per game so they weren't purposefully seeking after it. Our rule was that they could not get it twice in a row, so if they picked up a second yellow snow, they were to put it down and grab a new snowball so they can continue solving math problems. The negative to getting yellow snow is they didn't get to add an answer to their reporting sheet, so they would have less correct answers at the end of the time, and if you're doing some sort of prize, that meant they were less likely to earn that if they had less answers. You could not use yellow snow if you have 24 or less students, or if you're pairing students up, or yellow snow could just mean they sit out that round and they watch without solving a problem. It's really up to you. Another thing to think about is repeat answers. If students get a snowball that they have already solved for, what are you going to have them do? Sometimes we would play that you just had to sit and wait since you'd already had that snowball. And then other times we tried where students could trade for another snowball with a friend. So if they got number 12 and they'd already solved it, they could ask a friend, hey, does anyone need snowball 12? I've already had it. And see if someone would trade them snowballs so that they could solve a new problem. We did run into some students trying to trade even when they had not seen that snowball, just so that they could answer multiple snowballs in the same round. And we had to nip that and clear that up and say you should only be answering one snowball question per round. You cannot be trading with multiple friends to answer more problems. We just did that out of fairness so that students who are faster math problem solvers could not get way more answers than students who might need the full time in one round to solve their problem. Probably the most important thing to talk through is what the cues are for when students throw their snowball. In our room, we decided that students would stand by the rug with their snowball crumpled, and that when I said 1, 2, 3, toss, everyone would toss into the middle of the rug. They knew they had to toss underhand, and that if they were getting too wild, they would not be able to play the game and would just need to do a math practice worksheet on their own. They also knew they had to wait for their name to go retrieve their snowball. So if I said their name, they could go pick a snowball so that it was not a stampede into the middle of the floor. Sometimes I would also dismiss a handful of students at a time by saying, everyone on this side of the rug, you may retrieve your snowball. And that meant 5 or so students at a time could go pick up a snowball. And then once they cleared, I would dismiss another side. Lastly, you'll want to think of how you are going to check answers at the end of the activity. You could put up the answer key and have students check their work themselves. You could call out the answers and have them check as you read the answers out loud. You could have students turn in their papers and you could check their answers at a different time. Or you could choose not to check answers and just have it be a fun activity. It's really up to you. Sometimes I would award 1 Jolly Rancher or Mint for the students who got the most answers right. But honestly, I felt like that took away a little bit of the fun of the activity because I really just wanted my students to be enjoying practicing their math and not to be focused on getting the most right, just focusing on enjoying and practicing math and seeing how they could do personally so that when we did the activity again, they could try to get even more questions right than they did the time before. So my personal recommendation would be not to use a prize and just have it be for fun and to see how well they could do personally. One last thing I wanted to mention is that the activity set I sell comes with an editable snowball template in PowerPoint. So if you have that program, you could customize the snowball template for so many other activities, for science, for word terminology and reading, for phonics. There are endless options. So if that is something you're thinking of doing, I've also included a template to make that easy for you. Thank you so much for watching, and please let me know if you and your students try the snowball math activity in class. I know they are going to love it and have so much fun, and it's a great way to keep them engaged during the winter time. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!